You're watching FNN, the FUKK News Network.
This program contains subject matter and language that may be disturbing to some viewers.
And at that point, we had to look at each other because it really wasn't the original lineup anymore. And we didn't feel honest or comfortable with the makeup anymore because in hindsight, the makeup really belonged to the original lineup in the sense that we created it and it should only be worn by us.
All right, zip it.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Sammy, you're no diamond. SHMACKEMAGOB.
SHMACKEMAGOB, everybody. It's time for the only news that matters. And I want to thank Justin Fenderlet from Regina, Canada for that SHMACKEMAGOB intro. Thank you so much, my friend. And yeah, Sammy Hagar sucks. Now, if you want to send a SHMACKEMAGOB intro, send it to this email right here and I'll put it up in order it was received. Alright, now let's get into the only news that matters. R.E.M. confirmed they'll never reunite for tacky money-grubbing reunion tour.
When a problem comes along, you must zip it. Zip it good.
Seriously, man. I do. Hey, man, I admit, I like me some R.E.M. There's quite a few songs of theirs that I really like, but, you know, all this, like, elite is like, oh, we don't need the money, it's tacky. Man, you're the last band to talk about tacky. Next story. The Merciful Fate EP, Melissa and Don't Break the Oath were voted greatest albums of the 80s by the most reliable music source I can trust, me. Alright, next story. On the recent Judas Priest tour, there is a huge inflatable bull that comes out on stage with its eyes glowing, and Halford says it's a homage to Birmingham, England, where they're from. And I think it's a great idea if Judas Priest was to give this huge inflatable bull to Kiss, where they rig it to put big chunks of shit in its behind and it comes tumbling out all over Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. And then Kiss should give it to Motley Crue so it can shit all over Nikki Sixx. Next story. And it is related to Judas Priest. Richie Faulkner was hospitalized for major medical heart condition issues. The remainder of the US tour has been postponed. This is pretty shocking, you know, the young dude, the youngest guy in Judas Priest having heart issues. You know, Judas Priest has had a hell of a lot of problems with members and, you know, health issues. Unbelievable. This is pretty shocking if you ask me, so I'm hoping for a speedy recovery for Mr. Faulkner and hope he gets a clean bill of health really soon. Alright, next story. Former Iron Maiden singer Paul Di'Anno is still waiting for his knee surgery. This situation is only getting worse, they say. Look at this. I mean, my God. You know, I met Paul Di'Anno back in 2010 after the show, and he was sitting down, and I remember him telling me personally that he's got some knee problems. Back then, his legs were normal, but we're talking 11 years ago he's been having this problem, and you know, it stemmed from some motorcycle accidents, and this looks just so horrible, man. And he was such a cool guy when I met him, and I really do hope he gets that surgery soon because this really doesn't look good. All the best to my favorite Iron Maiden singer. Next story. Liam Gallagher has canceled his Belfast gig after falling out of a helicopter. Liam said, "I'm absolutely gutted to cancel my Belfast show this weekend. I had an accident after a festival and have busted my nose so I can't sing. The doctors told him to rest up, and he says apologies to all the people who bought tickets. The show is being rescheduled. I'll make it up to you." So he was climbing out of a helicopter and he fell face first into the ground. I really think that fall would have been much worse if he wasn't cushioned by those big ass caterpillar eyebrows of his. I'm wishing a speedy recovery to Liam Gallagher. Alright, next story. Guns N' Roses released a song called Hard School. And most people online are saying it sucks. I like it. I didn't like that Absurd song, but this one it reminded me of like some Appetite stuff. Now, I will say it doesn't have that groove because really I feel like Steven Adler is very underrated. I thought him and Duff made that sound that made Appetite for Destruction so amazing. That groove that was lost afterward. So yeah, I will say it is missing that killer drumming, that kill 'em rhythm section, but musically it sounds like something from Appetite. It's a hard rocking song. It's not so pretentious as the Use Your Illusion stuff or so kind of like avant-garde-ish on Chinese Democracy, which I loved. But I really liked this song, Hard School. I thought it was good. It was a return to form, and I didn't mind it at all. But also, Guns N' Roses and Metallica are those type of bands that whatever they release now will be slammed. So it's to be expected. Next story. This past Friday, I went to go see Geoff Tate perform Rage for Order and Empire in its entirety. My plan was to go see just Rage for Order because I'm a huge fan. That's my favorite Queensryche album. But I'm not really into Empire much. I like a few songs. But my plan was to leave after Rage for Order, drive up like 3-4 miles up the road where the Dead Daisies were playing so I can see, Glenn Hughes and Doug Aldridge. But the thing is that when he came out and played Rage, it was so amazing. He sounded so good that during it I said, you know what? I'm not leaving. I'm going to watch him do the whole Empire album. And I'm glad I did. I mean, I love the song Empire. Him doing that was awesome. And I like Jet City Woman. And the last song that anybody listening, amazing. But another reason I'm glad I stayed was he came back for an encore with 2 songs, very rare, Last Night in Paris, which was awesome. And he ended the set with Take Hold of the Flame, which is like the hardest song to sing. And he sang, he did hit those really high notes on Take Hold of Flames, but he kind of built it up a little bit. He didn't go straight into the high note. He started with a low register, but he still hit it really high. I was beyond impressed. If Geoff Tate comes by your neck of the woods and you like Rage for Order Empire, I highly recommend you go see this show. It was amazing. Next story. Kiss manager Doc McGee says Kiss biopic will focus on the band's first 4 years. Now, I find this hysterical, and again, more hypocrisy from Paul Stanley of Kiss, who made such a stink over the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, how they wouldn't induct like Eric Carr, Bruce Kulick, Fake Fraley, and Cheater Chris into the Rock and Roll Hall of Shame. But yet, that's something he doesn't have control over. That's, these elitist douchebags at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame are, say who can get in and who can't. But when it comes to this Kiss biopic, Paul Stanley of Kiss does have a say. And now he's fine with just focusing on the first 4 years. I would say unbelievable, but it's not. And Doc McGee also said, once again, that Ace Frehley will show up at some point during the End of the Road tour. And the only reason he says that is because people are just so gullible. They'll be like, oh, I'm going to go see Kiss because Ace might show up. Doc said he's going to show up, so hopefully this will be the show. I guess Doc's been hanging out with Paul Stanley and Gene too much that now he can't help to say bullshit. And he also said the band's last concert ever will take place at the end of 2022. Whatever. All you guys that want to see Kiss, more power to you. I won't go see them. The only way I'll go see Kiss is if they bring out that inflatable bull and it shits all over Gene and Paul. All right, final story. Sammy Hagar claims he was abducted by aliens almost 60 years ago. I remember he said that in his book, and now he said it again in some interview that he was abducted by aliens and then they brought him back. And, that pisses me off, man, because, now finally I hate somebody more than Sammy Hagar. I hate those aliens that brought him back. Well, that's it for the news, my friend. The only news that matters. I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you so much. Please, if you'd like to donate, I got a PayPal. in the description below. And please subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and click that notification bell. And check out my podcast, the Rock and Metal Combat Podcast and the VIERA Vault. Till next time, my friends, stay frosty. Listen to Black Sabbath. Fuck Sammy Hagar and SHMACKEMAGOB.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain.